Hello, my name is Starlight. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and I'm reaching out to all of you beautiful souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight is, and what a breezy day it is out here today. So I'm out here on a different hiking trail. I don't know where I am, so anyway, I love you so much, and if you are new to my YouTube channel, welcome. You can find me on YouTube, and that is at Starlight, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, you could give my videos a thumbs up, and you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't be afraid, don't be shy. Swing by and say hi to Starlight by leaving me a comment down below. Beep, beep, beep. And you can also check out my playlist. Plus, you can find me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman Starlight. Thank you so much for all of you who have been there from the beginning, or maybe you jumped in, like later on sometime as I've had this YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me here and subscribing, liking my videos, or even leaving me a comment or sharing my videos. So anyway, here we go. Like I said, I've never been here, so this will be all new, so we all can go. It's always inspiring you all to go take a hike, and Starlight doesn't want you to leave me. No, you could still stay here, and watch my videos and love and support me, and we can help each other on this spiritual journey in life. And so anyway, today's video is to keep trusting the process, and I don't know what you're going through in life right now, is that we are always being tested. Some people agree with that, some people don't, and that's okay, because we really are not always going to agree to everything anyway, and that's absolutely okay. Just like, I love bananas. You might not like bananas. I like peanut butter. You might not like peanut butter. Peanut butter without sugar and salt, is really, the kind that you got to stir. So anyway, I do love you. And so on this journey in life we're all going to be tested. We are going to be tested. And things are going to look kind of scary at times, and that could be in any kind of thing, that you're going through. It could be, things are kind of don't seem right, like maybe in relationships, and that could be with family, your parents, your sisters, brothers, other kind of family members, you could be going through a challenging time, with friendships. Of course, when it comes to these kind of relationships, it's great to trust things, and trust in the process. But sometimes we got to do things that go against what we want to do and what we want, and also like in relationships, like a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband or wife kind of relationships, or even, like close friends where you might not be married, but maybe you're just, like a guy and a girl where you're just working on the friendship part, So no matter what you're doing, is you want to be positive and trust in the process, and you're going to go through challenges. You're going to have obstacles that are going to be in your way, but no matter what, you got to be positive and trust in the process. It's so very important. And there's times, we might be positive and believing in the process. Oh no, is this a drop off? So Starlight doesn't want to go this way. Like I said, I've never been here. So Starlight's got to turn around. Boy, these are beautiful flowers. I don't know what those are. But so we're just going to backtrack. And that is it for that. So anyway, in life though, we need to trust the universe, trust God. Like if you're in a relationship, and there's going to be times that you might be doing all those things, and sometimes we got to let go. Or we got to let people go out of our life, because God has got something greater. God, there's many times like when COVID, how many of you during COVID time, either, some people, they actually lost somebody because they actually passed away because of COVID. And COVID was a big wake-up call for Starlight, where I was going in the wrong direction, and I thought I was right where I belonged. But you know what? The universe had a different plan. It wasn't, there's times that we think that we got it all figured out, but then we realize that we didn't really have it figured out. God actually had something better in store for us, and even when it comes to your job and how you make money, it's so important to be positive in what you're going through. But if you're not happy and you're not content to what you're doing and where you are as far as employment goes, or a job goes, or how your finances go, there are times that we gotta let go. Sometimes we hold on so tight where we gotta let go. We gotta actually let go of what is no longer serving us, so then we can make space for what is inspiring us. So if you are at a job and you're holding on tight to that job that is no longer serving you, there's times that the universe is gonna put you through stuff to help you to wake up, to help you to see that you're in the wrong place, you're at the wrong company. God has got something much greater. Just like when COVID happened, there's a lot of people, they had to lose their jobs. They realized that, the company that I worked for, I worked for years, and when COVID came, they said, hey, if you don't get that injection, then, we can't have you here anymore. And, you could have been shocked by that and thinking, what? You're going to actually force me to go and get that injection when I don't believe in that, injection. This is my body. And so it was a way that God could have woke you up and let you see that you were, with the wrong company. And, in a way, there's things about changing. Like, there's times that we got to actually let go, or we're going to be dragged. And you really, Starlight has been in that situation before, of where, there's times that we're going to be forced to let go of things that are no longer serving us and helping us. Is that, in those situations, like with COVID, is that you might end up being dragged, like you're like, no, I got to hold on to this job, or no, I got to hold on to this relationship, because you get kind of comfortable in those things. But, how did you feel later on when you really got out of that relationship? And yeah, it's painful when you could actually been in love with somebody, you could have loved somebody, and then before you know it, that, things happen where that person no longer wants to be with you, or like a job where, you're kind of forced out of it. It is so hard to let go of what you're so used to holding on to, thinking that that is the only thing, that's the only thing out there to hold on to. And so it is important to trust in the process, but there's sometimes that, what, our ways are not the way that, is always what God actually wants. So, whoopsie, I just had that felt a tickle. That tickled. I had a leaf that fell and hit Starlight's ear. So, there's times that, we're going to have like financial problems, things that are going to pop up without our control, and it's okay. Don't let fear come in between what God wants to do in your life. We are always going to be challenged at different times in our life, on this journey. And no matter what, yeah, it's scary, but don't doubt God, that God can't come through for you, and it actually, when you hold on tight and you still believe, yay, you know what? Yeah, this is scary right now. It's all right. We do have fear, but don't let the fear, there's a healthy fear. But you know what? Don't let that fear overtake you, where now you're doubting what God can actually do in your life. So you want to still trust the process, even if it messes you up and kind of scares you, is you gotta still, I'm just looking at these trails. I'm like, oh, let's see. There's two different trails. We can take the right or the left. I'm gonna go over here because actually, you know what? This is the 5th tee block, so they have a frisbee thing. So we're gonna take the right. So no matter what happens, is to be positive. If you do everything and, not just in your power, but you ask God for help through these times, God might set you free on things that you thought you needed, and was holding so tight on. Woo, sorry. I've never been here before, so yeah.
It's kind of confusing.
Yeah, thank you. So, it is so good to, especially finances or anything in life, is to really keep trusting the process, but be willing to let go if God has got something better for you. I had to let go of my cleaning business, and I hung so tight on my cleaning business, and not many of you are going to understand, but I had to let go of that. That's not what God was helping me to let go of it. And it took me 12 years to build that and to let go. It was not easy, but you know what? By being able to let go of things or people that are not serving you, it shows that you're strong by being able to let go. Not everybody is strong to be able to let go, and just trust that God is going to help you through that, and so we're gonna all go through those challenges in life, and you gotta just trust the process. You really do. You gotta trust no matter how scary it is, and your faith will get increased, when you realize, okay, this is scary right now, but I'm not gonna let that fear control me. I'm still gonna believe, and that's why you gotta trust your intuition. You gotta talk to God, ask God, okay, God, please guide me. I don't know what you're doing in my life right now, but right now I could really use some help, and please help me to understand what is it that I'm supposed to do right now, and give it over to God. You cannot do all these things on your own, and you do have to be careful of the kind of people that you spend time with, because when you're going through a shaky time, a scary time in life, and if you're around the wrong kind of people and you tell them your problems that you're going through, you know what? They can make your problems even worse by building fear in your mind and your headspace. So you do have to be careful, when you're going through shaky grounds, when you're going through hard times, is not to always open up and express what you're going through, because other people, they could be scared shitless because they couldn't handle what you're going through, and they could give you the worst advice that could really mess everything up for you. So it's so important is to be careful who you tell your problems to, because they could give you the kind of advice that's going to take you in a wrong way, and it can mess everything up. So you got to be mindful of the kind of people. How do they react and respond to their everyday problems that they have in their life? And that is really going to reveal of how they're going to respond to you and what you're going through in your life. If they are always afraid of things that they're going through in their life, and you go and you tell them about problems that they're having, if you tell them your problems that you have in your life, but they don't respond in a good and positive way in their life, in their situations, they're not going to give you the right answers and the right advice because of what you're going through. So if they're always scared about what they're going through, is you don't want to go to those particular people, because they're not going to give you good advice. So hang on, Starlight, I didn't realize this is really a frisbee area here. Hey, I got a bench over here. Starlight's going to come over here at this bench. So that is so important. That is something that gets missed a lot of times. A lot of times we could trust God and believe in God, and then we go around the wrong people. It could be your family. It could be your boyfriend or husband, that you're like, oh man, I don't know what's going to happen. My boss said this and that. And if your husband is always afraid of everything and doesn't handle things, like let love guide him instead of fear, your husband could sit there and give you the wrong advice where you end up getting sunk into his fear, and then where now everything's caving in, where you let that person's fear affect you and your decision making and how you're going to respond, and where you could have actually kept the job and kept that position, but now somebody else planted fear in your headspace where you lost everything, which you didn't have to. So you do have to be careful, even when it comes to relationships, is that be careful who you talk to about the problems that you're having in your relationships. You could be going through a hard time, a challenging time, and when you open up to other people, family members, or even your best friend and say, hey, this is what we're going through right now. We'll actually switch this around and we'll pick on the girl. We'll say, like, you got a guy friend, and you say, oh my, she's been talking to this guy at work, and you're putting your business out there in front of your friends or family, and if they don't like the girlfriend or the wife that you're with, do you think that they're going to give you the right kind of advice to help you through the problems that you're going through? Do you think they're going to give you a good sound advice on what you're dealing with? I don't think so, right? I mean, why would they? Because they don't want to see you with that person anyway. Sometimes there's a lot of jealousy happens with relationships, where a couple could be going out with each other, and before they got together, maybe their friend was always hanging out with each other, and then she came along, and now they don't get to spend very much time together because they fell in love, and now they're spending all this extra quality time together, and he feels horrible because it used to be him and him and his friend hanging out, and now he doesn't really have a whole lot of time because he's got a new girl. So you got to be careful of who you talk to, who you communicate with. You have to really be mindful of who you talk to, because they could really trip you up. Sorry, Starlight's just kind of standing here because I kind of got cornered here. There's no way out of this area. So be careful who you talk to about your business, because not everybody is going to give you the right kind of advice, in your situation. So a lot of times, like, I have a special someone out there that's not going to trip me up, but those are really rare. You got to be around people that want to see you win, and they're out for you. They're not out there to destroy you. They're not out there to see you fail. They want to see you win. And so those are the kind of people, like, if you're going to open up and ask, hey, I'm going through some hard time with, like, even a family member, you got to really be careful. Don't put your stuff out on Facebook or any of that for the whole public to see. No, ask God, number one. That's the best one that you can go to, is talk to God about it, but be patient. If you're not patient, but you talk to God and you're like, hey God, I got this problem, and God already knows what problem you have before you even go to God about it. But like, you ask God one day and the next day you didn't even wait. You didn't even, we got to be patient. God's not going to tell you right away. God wants you to be patient and still trust in the process. That's what's so important. Keep trusting in the process. But remember, sometimes we got to let go. If you did everything in your part and it's out of your control, God's doing something. Don't get upset with God because he takes a person out of your life that's not really meant for you. Takes a job that was not really meant for you. Like, if you lost a job, if you had to let go of something, there's a reason that God actually did that. You did everything in your power to make it happen, and you trusted the whole process, but God's like, no, I got something better for you. You gotta let go, you know. But first, you gotta trust the process and what you're going through. Be careful of the kind of people that you open up to, you know, and because they could. I have been there. I've done that, you know, going to the wrong people, and then when I heard the things that they told me, I'm like, I know why you're telling me that. You don't want me to do, you know, you actually don't want me to go that direction, you know. And you got to listen to your intuition. What does your intuition say? And what I've learned with my intuition, when I am going through stuff and I talk out loud, I'm like, you know, and I talk to myself out loud, that's when I'm getting the right kind of answers, you know, like there's a voice within us, you know, and that's the voice that you want to listen to, is the first voice inside of you, is like your voice will guide you. That's the universe speaking to you, helping you and guiding you. You got to trust that, you know, so you're better off asking God for help and asking for guidance. Please show me what to do. I'm in this situation. I need help right away. There's times that we really need help right away. And you might not know what to do, where to go, but, you know that God's going to help you to get through whatever you're going through. And like I said, sometimes, you know what? If we did everything that we could, you got to let go and let God, you know, let go and let God. God has got a better person for you, you know, whether you're a guy or a girl. You know, you might be holding on and you might not be being honest about the person that you're with. You might be thinking, oh, yeah, you know, because when things are going good, that's all we can think about is all the good things they do. But when things are, you know, when things are getting rocky, you know, then that's when we're like, maybe they're not really good for us, you know. So if everything's going smooth, but, you know, you're not really, you know, remembering, you know, we got to stay in the present moment, but there's times that we ignore things, you know, there's red flags and we're ignoring them because now everything's going honky-dory, you know. So there could be red flags that the universe sees, and and you don't want to even see those red flags. You're like, I don't want to see those red flags. I'm kind of comfortable with that person. Because, you know, a lot of times people get scared. They don't want to do things. They don't want to be on their own. They don't want to be by themselves. They don't want to have to do it all alone on their own. And if that's the case, then you're doing everything for the wrong reason. Don't, you know, you don't want to be another person in a toxic relationship that's just there because they're afraid of being alone. They're afraid of, you know, like, hey, that means I got to pack all my stuff up. That means I got to start all over. That's okay. That's okay to start all over, you know? It is okay. You know how many times Starlight had to start all over? And, you know, I'm like, you know what? That's okay. It wasn't going out right. I'm not going to keep myself in a toxic relationship. I have to do this. I don't want to do this, but it's best for me. It's going to help me out. It's going to help me to grow and help me to respect myself, that I'm not going to let those kind of people in my life anymore. I'm not going to be, you know, like in relationships where, you know, I feel threatened. So it's so important to, you know, be wise to the kind of people and to be in safe environments and safe relationships, because if you're not, you're in the wrong relationship. So don't be desperate thinking I got to stay with that person, you know, if they're toxic or abusive. You know, that's, you know, the universe is going to pull you out of that one way or another, you know, and try to help you through that. So don't be afraid that you got to do it all on your own to start all over. You're never really all alone. God is there if you only reach out for help. I love you so much. So trust the process, even when things get rocky, and believe that, you know, you're in that situation now, but you're not going to be in there. You gotta, you know, you gotta get through, like in the ocean, you know, those waves that hit you hard, and realize that you're going to get through it. You know, you got to trust it, and you got to be patient, and, you know, be careful who you talk to, be careful who you open to, you know, and talk and explain what you're going through, because they could really trip you up. They could take you where they want to take you, you know, and where they want to be able to use you. So I love you so much. This is Starlight. You can give this video a thumbs up. You could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, you can leave me a message down below, beep, beep, beep. And you could follow me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K, Dingman Starlight. I love you all. If you're going through stuff, you know, trust in the process. Trust that God is going to get you through it. If you've done everything that you could possibly do by staying positive, trusting in the process, but God does something different, let it go. Just to let you know, God knows what is better for you than you know yourself. You know, we think that we know what's good for us. God really knows what's really good for us. So I love you so much. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight, love, light, and